All right. Well, we're here from the snowy, frosty banks of the North Saskatchewan River. And this is Down to the River. Your host, Scott Roos, on the line with the man and the myth and the legend himself, Downchild front man, Chuck Jackson. How you doing today, Chuck?
I'm doing great. We just came through the mountains, and we're in Calgary now. We've got the night off, and then we're heading to Red Deer.
Right.
And we're looking forward to coming out to Saskatchewan.
No doubt. Well, now, one thing that I didn't know, and I mean, forgive my lack of knowledge on that front, but I mean, Downchild has been, in the business for 50 years, 30 of which you've been fronting the band. That is an amazing accomplishment. Congratulations on that.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
So now listen, just take us back 30 years. I mean, how did you get the call to be in the band, and, what was your reaction, and how soon did you join? And, I'm sure there's got to be a story that you've probably told umpteen million times, Chuck.
Well, actually, I was at the time, and I was playing in a band called Cameo Blues Band.
Right.
And we were the house band at the Hotel Isabella. And Donnie and the band and Jane, they would be on the road, and then when they got back to Toronto, they'd come and see us at the Isabella, and they'd sit in with us and jam. So we got to know each other pretty well. During those days, that was probably started about 1978.
Uh-huh. And
then through other gigs I did, I met Pat Carey, the sax player for Downchild, and I ended up getting a divorce, and Pat and I got a house together, and we played some gigs outside of Downchild and Cameo, and when they were looking for a new singer, Pat suggested me, and I auditioned, and I think at first Donnie wasn't that excited about it, but I kind of changed his mind, and lucky for me, I've been in the band for 30 years.
Now, one thing that I've noticed when bands change vocalists is, sometimes they go for an entirely different sound and dynamic, and other times they try and keep it fairly on the straight and narrow. So, I mean, I know we're talking 30 years here, Chuck, but I mean, where do you think you fit? And then thinking about your, 30-year history with the band, what unique aspect of your performing skill set do you bring to the table?
Well, one thing is that I also play harmonica, so it gave us a chance to have two harmonica players in the band, and that became a big hit with the fans. We'd do, parts of the show where we'd both play harmonica together and kind of like do a dueling harmonica session. So people really got into that.
Right.
Also, I mean, I'm also a songwriter, so through those years, it was Donnie and myself writing most of the songs.
Yeah.
And so I kind of instilled my own style and songwriting into the band.
Right.
But, we grew up listening to the same kinds of music. I was influenced by Jimmy Reed and Junior Wells and B.B. King and that. So, we had a lot of the same tastes in music. So it didn't really change that much. And I had great respect for Hawk Walsh and Tony Flame, who were the singers before myself. And so I tried to interpret the songs that they made famous in my own way, but keep it true to the Downchild sound.
Sure. Yeah. Well, now, how would you describe that sound, Chuck? Just, because you've sort of had a ringside seat for quite some time.
Well, Downchild's, plays jump music, jump blues. We like to get the crowd going. We've always believed that the songs we write are to get people on their feet dancing and having a good time.
Uh-huh.
For the first probably 20 years that I was in the band, we played mostly just bars and festival. Now we don't play bars anymore. We play theaters.
Yeah.
And, a lot of festivals, and, a lot of the people after the show will remark that, God, we wish we could dance more in the theater, because we love your music so much. So we do get people dancing in the aisles and going over the corners, but, so it's a little different approach now, but we still enjoy it. I get a lot of fun, joking with the audience and the rapport I have with the audience during the stage shows, and it gives me a chance to talk to them while, like if Donnie is changing over from harmonica to slide guitar, from slide guitar to guitar.
Yeah.
Our show is very unique that way.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, given the fact that, I mean, this is the 50th anniversary, I mean, one thing they seem to be underscoring quite a bit in, press releases and different articles and things that I've read about the band is, the influence you guys had on the Blues Brothers, of all people, which is, something that, being a casual fan of the band, I never realized. But I mean, I think, partway through this tour, you're going to be sharing the stage with Dan Aykroyd. He's gonna get up and perform with you guys.
Well, we already did a show with Dan to kick off our tour this summer. We had Dan and Paul Schaefer, and David Wilcox, and some of the old alumni from Downchild. We had Gene Taylor, who played with Downchild for years, and then moved on to play with the Fabulous Thunderbirds.
Yeah.
And Kenny Kenny Neal. And so that was a lot of fun. And then all through the tour, Colin James is going to be playing with us, of course. And we've had Tom Lavin from How the Blues Band play with us, and Jim Burns right now, Jenny Ty and Susie Vinnick. So most of the acts have been from out west, so it's been kind of fun. And David Gogo adding them to our show and doing duets with them.
Yeah, I think Colin's going to be, at the EA Rollinson Center November 16th when you guys are here in Prince Albert playing. Right. Yeah, so I mean, given the fact that Colin's playing with you guys, I mean, what's your experience with Colin? Like, have you met Colin before? I would imagine so, right?
Yeah, Colin played with us on our 40th anniversary. He also played in the band with us. We played at a festival in Norway quite a few years ago, and so he played with us there. So we've done a few shows with Colin. He's a lot of fun, great to play with, and always been a Downchild fan. So
yeah,
he fits in real well.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned how you would consider, at least in part, Downchild to be a jump band, and of course, Colin in his own right has a few jump records under his belt himself, so I would imagine he's a pretty solid fit when it comes to that sort of thing.
No problem. Yes, for sure. He's been around for a long time, and he started really, really young, but he's quite the veteran, and we look forward to playing with him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you're aware of this, but I think it was Stevie Ray Vaughan that took Colin under his wing, maybe a few years before Stevie tragically passed away.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing that, over the years, every time the blues kind of needed a shot in the arm, it happened with the Blues Brothers in '78 with the album, and then, of course, the movie coming out. And, of course, Stevie Ray Vaughan kind of put it into limelight again. And so it seems every, a couple of decades, something happens that showcases how great the blues is to maybe a younger audience and to a wider audience.
Yeah. Well, at this point in your careers, I mean, is that how you guys see yourselves, as sort of like blues ambassadors?
I think so, and definitely, for sure we do. We have, the blues has changed so much in the time the band's been together. I mean, when Donnie started the band in '69, there was just, a couple of blues bands all across Canada, like Dutch Mason and Whiskey Howe and like Matt Minglewood and that. But, now, I mean, it's just amazing, the fabulous talent that we have in Canada, and young performers coming up, and, us winning awards down in the United States, and Canadian bands going down to the Blues Summit and finishing first. And of course, the internet's opened the whole world to Canadian blues and blues internationally,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, Canadian blues guitarist Sean Verreau of Wide Mouth Mason. I mean, that there's a blues band. They just released a record a little over a week ago now, and it's pretty I mean, I don't want to use the word traditional, but I mean, he's definitely exploring some aspects of his playing that he hadn't before. And I would imagine that's because, the internet is so wide open in terms of, what people will investigate and check out in terms of blues music these days.
Well, yeah, and I mean, there's things like Spotify and all the blues channels, satellite channels on TV. That there's actually stations devoted strictly to blues.
Sure.
It's really opened up that genre
Yeah.
to the world, and there's a lot of younger people playing blues and doing it in a contemporary style and adding their own twist to it. So it's exciting time.
Yeah.
There's blues festivals almost every weekend all over the world, and it's funny because a lot of people think that the blues isn't as strong as it was, but I mean, myself and other blues musicians I know are busier now than they've ever been.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I mean, you mentioned in the 70s, of course, the first Blues Brothers movie came out, but I mean, I think it was maybe around 97, 98, the second Blues Brothers movie came out. And, that even though maybe that movie wasn't as strong as the first one, I mean, that definitely inspired myself just because of the all-star jam that was at the end of that. Like, I can't believe who was sharing the stage for that. Holy smokes.
I know, it was amazing. And it's great. I mean, we did a documentary on HBO.
That's right. Yeah.
It's now on Prime. You can see we did for our 40th anniversary, which was unbelievably 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And, it was on there for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
The exposure you get on television, it just can't be beaten. It's just the media and social media nowadays. It's, I get emails from, from Germany, from Italy, people wanting, to find out more about Downchild. Even on this recent tour, we've had people drive up from San Francisco.
Wow.
We had people coming from Germany, people, from Australia. So it's quite amazing.
Yeah, well, now I've heard that European market is a lot more, maybe diverse in terms of their musical tastes. I mean, do you find that when you go across the pond and you hit up places like Germany compared to North America that might be a little bit more conservative?
Well, the audiences certainly are not conservative. They really dig the blues when they get into it.
Yeah.
They a lot of times you'll get, certain places and areas that are more into like the guitar wizards.
Yeah.
And like the Stevie Ray Vaughns and the guitar players that shine. And we're more like Chicago blues, where it's harmonica and blue and guitar and slide oriented.
Sure. Yeah. Well, now you guys released a record in 2017 called Something I've Done. I mean, now given the fact that you're, rolling up on the 50th anniversary, I mean, is there another studio release on the horizon?
Well, we're finishing up our touring for this year in mid-December. We think we get back home on the 17th.
Uh-huh.
And then we do some dates around Ontario. Then we'll be doing our spring tour in the East Coast.
Yeah.
In April, we all do some different kinds of work in Central America and Roatan. I'm playing in Roatan, and Donnie and I both play in Costa Rica and doing some shows in Panama.
Yeah.
And then we'll, it's being 50 years. We definitely don't tour as extensively as we used to.
Yeah.
But with the 50th anniversary, this is actually, we've been out we'll be out for a month this time. And, it's been great, all the attention we've got for the 50th. And we're going to keep on playing and keep going back to the studio as long as people want to hear us.
Well, this reporter here definitely wants to keep hearing you for sure. I mean, I really enjoyed, Something I've Done. I'm just wondering now, one of the things that I like to do on the show is, talk about a track or two. So, I mean, one track that I found very striking was Take a Piece of My Heart. I mean, what can you tell us about that, Chuck?
Well, that song was written by Gary Kendall,
Uh-huh.
our bass player. And you know, a lot of times when people bring a song in, and you know, we're doing pre-production, it's a little different than when it made it to the record. So I was very much influenced myself by people like Otis Redding and Wilson Pickett and stuff like that. So kind of took that vocal and changed it into more of an R&B style vocal.
Yeah.
And we were very happy with the way that turned out. And, you know, it was great because that was the first album that we've done where just about everybody in the band contributed a song.
Wow.
To.
Now, what about Mississippi Woman, Mississauga Man, which I feel is a very, very clever, you know, sort of, I suppose, tongue-in-cheek play on words.
Yeah, I wrote that song. I grew up in Mississauga, and I have a good friend. She's called the Mississippi Queen. She's from Mississippi. She has a restaurant in Hamilton where she does Southern cuisine. And I just wrote that song. I always, you know, had the Mississippi Woman, Mississauga Man thing in my head. And it was one of those things that was probably, you know, just a thought for about 5 or 6 years. And then, you know, I just one day just decided to finish it and wanted to kind of show the difference between a Mississippi man and Mississauga man and Mississippi woman.
Yeah.
And, you know, what the difference would be in their lives and what things would they like and what things the Mississippi woman would like. So, yeah, it was a fun one to write.
Well, listen, Chuck, I don't want to keep you much longer, but I mean, I'm sure now, you know, given the fact that you're touring and you've been in the business as long as you have, I mean, do you have any set routine when it comes to, you know, getting ready for a tour and even just, you know, preserving the vocal cords, so to speak?
Well, clean living more day. Like, we used to be pretty good partiers. We lead a pretty clean life these days, and
yeah,
you know, just resting up and trying to take it easy in between shows. When you know, we you know, before I would jokingly say on stage, you know, we used to have a woman in every town. Now we move into town and we go, hey, that's a place with a really good Chinese food. You know, we look more forward to going out to eat in a restaurant. But you know, we all take it pretty easy and watch ourselves. And, you know, we're not young puppies anymore, so you have to do that.
I was going to say now, just before I let you go, I mean, in terms of like touring in different parts of Canada, I mean, you know, do you often see a difference in blues fans on the prairies, maybe compared to in larger centers like Vancouver or, you know, even Mississauga?
Well, we find Alberta and Saskatchewan, Manitoba, like with some of our biggest fans are from that area, and we play out a lot. We don't really, you know, we love going out to BC and stuff. We don't get out there as often. Right. But, you know, we play Saskatoon Blues Festival a lot, and we love coming out that way. And we have great audiences in Edmonton and Calgary. And so we really enjoy coming out west. It's always been something we do every few years, and we'll continue doing. And we just find the crowds really appreciate the style of music we play. Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, as they rightly should. I mean, you know, what's one thing that you feel that the people here in Prince Albert should know about Downchild before we see you guys perform on November 16th? Well, we're going to be doing our hits like Flip, Flop, and Fly and Almost and Shotgun. We'll be doing songs from our last 2 CDs that won a Juno and went nominated for Juno. And we'll be doing some of the songs from albums past. We're trying to do a little bit of something from every CD that we did. And, right on. And so they're going to get a great variety of some Downchild songs that were classics and some that were people's favorites. Right on, Chuck. Well, listen, I'm really appreciative of the time that you took just to speak with us today, man. Thanks for coming down to the river with me today. No problem. I appreciate it. And if anybody wants to find out more about Downchild or where we're playing, just go to our website at downchild.com.
Right on, right on. Thanks, man. You just reminded me about the website, which is usually a question I ask. So thanks for that.
No problem, my friend. Thanks for taking the time out. Appreciate it.
Yep, right on. Have a good night.
Okay. Hopefully we'll see you out there.
For sure, man.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.